From the shadows you hear the whirring mechanical noise of their limbs and the dull hum of their blades as they start their charge. You are about to come face to face with the assassins of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Today on Let's Talk Tactics, we're talking about the Ruststalkers.
Anvil of War! Let's talk tactics!
Hey guys, and welcome back to Anvil of War Gaming. A quick reminder, if you're enjoying our content, please click the subscribe button. It lets us know that you're enjoying what we're doing, and we'll continue to make more videos. Today we are discussing one of my favorite aesthetics for the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Ruststalkers. I love the fact that these guys have all of their limbs mechanically augmented. Their legs are augmented to make their fast movement and lightning speed a little bit more obvious on the model. I wish that they were a little bit more punchy on the tabletop, but they did get a recent buff with Engine War. So today we are discussing the potential of this unit, as well as some combos and some synergies that we think are really good for getting the most out of these guys on the tabletop. Now, so the Ruststalkers have a movement of 8 inches. They have a weapon skill, ballistic skill of 3, a strength of 4, a toughness of 3. They have 2 wounds apiece, 3 attacks apiece. They come with a base leadership of 6, which is kind of worrisome. But when you include the character, they get +1 attack, or sorry, the sergeant, they get +1 attack, and they also get +1 leadership, bringing them up to a 4 attack model, and a leadership of 7, which is pretty solid. They have a save of 4+, and they also come with the base 6+ invulnerable save that we see on most Adeptus Mechanicus infantry. Their loadout options, I mean, you've got the transonic razors with transonic razors with cord claw, or you have the transonic blades as an option. The transonic razor and cord claw, essentially what these are is they're just base statistic weapons. They're strength user, AP 0, damage 1 weapon for the blades, for the razors, and a damage D3 for the cord claw. Where these guys really shine is the ability of a unmodified wound roll of 6+, or sorry, it does say a wound roll of 6+, not unmodified, but so far I haven't seen any options for increasing the wound roll for these models or most models in the Adeptus Mechanicus line. On a 6+, they're going to be doing a mortal wound, and the cord claw is going to be doing D3 mortal wounds on a roll of a 6+ for wounds. The cord claw can only make a single attack from the model's attacks. This does not mean that you sacrifice all your other attacks. It means that you say you have a unit of 10, you take 10 dice, so 10 attacks away from the unit, and you make 10 separate rolls with the cord claw weapon, and then continue to make the rest of your attacks for the unit with your razors, so transonic razors. So you have, what are we talking? We're talking a 10-man squad. You've got 21 attacks coming from 21 attacks coming from the unit with on a 6+ to wound. You're doing a mortal wound, and then you have the 10 attacks that you're making for every one of those 6s. It's a D3 mortal wounds. So they can dish out a lot of mortal wounds. The transonic blades, on the other hand, they have this option that they're basically +1 strength. That is their specialty. They're giving them a +1 strength, but all of their attacks are only doing those mortal wounds on 6s. So, and a single mortal wound. So, in my opinion, I think the blades and the claw is a better option. As much as the +1 strength is really cool, I mean, you're just fishing for those mortal wounds. And if you're fishing for mortal wounds already, why not do D3 mortal wounds instead of 1 mortal wound? Does the +1 strength really outweigh the potential of doing D3 mortal wounds on a 6? You roll 10 dice on a 10-man squad. You get 2 6s potentially in that. That's 2d3 mortal wounds. That's like 2d3 baby smites, and that can be pretty dangerous. So I think there's a lot of more potential in the cord claw transonic razor option. So That being said, that's pretty much it for their equipment options. I mean, you don't see anything else really on these guys, and that really kind of feeds into the way that I think you're supposed to play these models on the tabletop, which is they're pretty much a standalone unit. They're supposed to they're not going to be absorbing all of your command points and all of your attention to create this like hyper effective unit on the tabletop. I think they're more meant to be a standalone unit that's going to be running at your enemy or tying up something or harassing your enemy, making them worry about their back line. Meanwhile, your gun line or the rest of your army, or your bigger hitting, heavier hitting units are going to be doing the damage. When it comes to Canticles for these guys, I'm going to say Invocation of the Machine Might is pretty much that's a winning Canticle to get off for these guys. If you're running Mars and you have the option of getting 2, then you throw Belisarius into the mix, and all of a sudden he's giving you the ability to add 1 or subtract 1 from your Canticle rolls. You're more likely to get that +1 strength from that Canticle, which puts these guys up to a strength of 5. Now you can see where the Transonic Blades start to look a little bit more appealing, because now they're up to strength 6. But there's other ways to kind of compensate this, and I think it's really, again, it's just getting that +1 strength on them from the Canticles. It's a situational thing. If most of your army is a gun line, you're really going to want some other stratagems, or some other Canticles being chanted, and that one isn't as attractive as buffing the rest of your army for shooting. So let's when we're looking at the Canticles now with Engine War, we also have the Canticles that you can replace on your Canticle list. When I'm looking at that, Rise is the only one that really kind of stood out to me. It's the additional -1 AP on their the melee weapons, so giving them the ability to have -1 on their blades. Again, you can increase the amount of damage that goes through that's not mortal wound spam. So they are, I would say that's probably the best other option for them. And with Ryza, you're also getting, your plasma specialists rules, etc. So that's a common Forge World to go with, other than Mars, if you're going that route, or if you're going for an all melee army. That Canticle can be pretty strong. So from there, we're moving on to some dogmas. So again, when we're talking about the Forge World dogmas, Ryza reroll 1 in the fight phase is pretty strong. I think that's probably going to be one of, if not the best, I think that's going to probably be the best option as far as buffing a melee specific unit or a melee army, if you're going that direction with your AdMech. There's a couple custom Forge Worlds in Engine War that are kind of interesting to me. I think there's a lot of potential in them. The -1 for strength and toughness within 3 inches of them is a pretty strong one. And there's probably some other combinations that I'm just not seeing, but I would still say that these guys are a standalone unit, and you don't want to plan your entire army around this unit. This unit is an addition to your army. It's a harassing unit. It's not meant to be the sole focus of your attentions. It's meant to be a dangerous unit on its own, independent operatives, which is kind of the fluff for this unit also, because they're meant to be sort of assassins. So for stratagems, we do have the Conqueror Doctrina Imperative, which is 1 command point, lasts until end of phase, and you're getting the +1 to your hits in melee. So now these guys are hitting on 2 pluses. There's some ways to give them the reroll 1s. I mean, you can get the reroll 1 from the Canticle, which I think I missed before, but that is a potentially good stratagem. I think it's Chant of the Remorseless Fist, I believe. And it's the reroll 1s in melee, which is pretty strong. 2 pluses, rerolling 1s, pretty good. I mean, the more hits you get through, the more chances you're going to get those mortal wounds through. So if you can make them all go through, that is definitely bettering your chances. Then we go on to acquisition at any cost. You can use it at the end of your turn. It's 2 command points, and basically if this unit is within 3 inches of an objective marker, they're getting +1 attack. They're also getting +1 to their saves. So going up to a 3+ save if they're in cover, which most objective markers are going to be near cover or in cover, you're going to be able to give them an additional +1 to their saves, which is really strong as well. Yeah, and now they're looking at what, a 2+ armor save in within 3 inches of an objective marker, and now they're going up to 4 base attacks per model. So it's really strong if these guys charge in, take a unit off of an objective marker. They're now sitting on that objective marker. You really need them to stick around for the next turn. They're in cover. Give them that +1 armor save, give them that +1 attack, and really make your opponent think about their decision on charging these guys to get them off of the objective. Now, there is now the most important stratagem, we'll say, for this unit, which was added during Engine War, which is the Circuitous Assassins. So 1 command point within 9 inches of an objective battlefield edge, you can remove this unit if you're within 9 inches of the battlefield edge. You remove them from the tabletop. You can set them back up on the tabletop that turn, anywhere outside of 9 inches of your opponent and within 9 inches of a tabletop edge. 9 inches is pretty significant. As a Space Wolf player, I know that when we're deploying within 6 inches of table edge, you kind of get limited a little bit. Sometimes that like extra 3 inches might be really nice for getting into the position that you really want them in, and also staying outside of 9 inches so you can pick those soft targets with your charges. So I think that these guys... that stratagem is huge. It's 1 command point, and there's no limitations on using it, like other than you can only use it once a turn or once a phase. But you could potentially use it multiple times throughout the battle and have these guys pop around the table and pick targets that are going to be kind of good targets for them throughout the whole game until your opponent decides to blast them off the table. Because let's remember, they are T3. Although they're 2 wounds, they are still T3. So they do die when they get targeted heavily. They do die. So be careful with them and use them wisely. Yeah, so that stratagem's amazing. 1 command point. Totally worth it. Again, these guys don't want to absorb a lot of your command points and your attention, but spending 1 command point a turn in 9th edition, when you have the ability to kind of pop around the table and you have the ability to generate or regenerate command points, that 1 command point might be the difference between you losing the game and not getting that objective marker or not killing that unit. Yeah, so take a look at that. So when dealing with unit synergies for this unit, there's really, I'd say they're limited. Again, I'm going to drive home the fact that they are kind of a standalone unit. You don't really want to buff these guys too much. There's a few options. Obviously, the Manipulus is a good option. If you use the Bolster Warrior special rule, you can give them the +1 inch to their move. And also +1 to their advance rolls and +1 to their charge rolls. So there is the potential to place these guys right. One clever kind of thing that you can do is if you have a gunline army and you have your army kind of hunkered down in the corner and these guys are popping around the tabletop, you could pull them back to potentially countercharge something that's trying to get to your Castellan robots or trying to get to your Cataphragm destroyers. It's something that could be employed to pull them back with the stratagem, and then use the Manipulus, change his sort of stance to give you that +1 to your charge rolls and really get these guys into melee. I mean, you're rolling a 9. You need to roll a 9 to get them into combat. So if now all of a sudden you have to roll an 8, that is a big difference. And a lot of melee army players will tell you that +1 inch on the charge, especially when you're deep striking, etc., can be a big deal. Other kind of options, I mean, there's some relics that there's some specific to Forge Worlds. There's some relics, I mean, if you take the mask on a engine and Engine Seer and just as a cheap HQ option, and you have them sort of in the right place at the right time. You can give these guys reroll ones without needing the Canticle, which is pretty strong. Or if you threw it on a Dominus or something, like you could technically have a melee kitted out Dominus. I mean, they're not going to do as well as most melee characters, but who knows what the future will hold for Adeptus Mechanicus and the new codex. We're going to be seeing in 9th edition, maybe we're going to get some new characters, maybe we're going to get some melee specific characters, maybe there's going to be one that's like a jump infantry or cavalry that's really going to complement these guys as far as getting them up the tabletop, and being in the position to be able to use things like the mask relic, or being able to give maybe a melee oriented aura, because right now as it stands, the auras for the Dominus, for Belisarius, they're all shooting oriented, they're all rerolls for shooting. So it would be really cool to see a melee specific unit to kind of push players out of the whole mindset, and I'm guilty of it as well, but push them out of the mindset of Adeptus Mechanicus army being a heavy shooting army, being a gunline army, and push us more into the mindset that we have these units that are fast and hard hitting, and maybe just employ them a little bit more to that effect, and start playing a melee fast moving Adeptus Mechanicus army. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.
Sponsored by...
Thanks for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of our content, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and let us know that you want to see more content from Anvil of War Gaming. From the Ken, I just fully realized I am looking at the wrong sheet.